One, two, test, test, test. One, two. All right, here we go. Hey, everybody.
Can you talk just in the
Yep.
microphone a little bit?
Test one, two. Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network. This is a test run. Does that work?
I think it might be quiet again.
Really? I can hear myself all right now, but you can't hear me.
It's not that well, we'll see how it goes.
All right.
We only have 15 seconds.
All right.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Mr. Aaron Zommers, who is back on the board from a little R&R on Friday. Glad to have you along here on a Monday, February 24th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite. 6 minutes past the hour of 12 noon here in downtown Madison. Little overcast sky, a little sun here and there, but our meteorologists are saying a little taste of spring here on this February 24th. Temperatures could get into the 50s in some parts of Wisconsin, the low 50s at least. So looking forward to that. Mr. Sommers, welcome back. Always glad to have you back. And you had a little R&R. The great Sam Davidson filled in on Friday. How was your weekend?
Good. I went to a convention in Chicago. I went to Magic Con for Magic the Gathering. Yes, I am a big nerd.
All right, no, you're just you're into a lot of diverse stuff. That's fantastic.
It was a good
Magic
time.
Con.
Play a bunch of games. I got to see some cool informational panels and shows and stuff like that.
Well, very good. Glad to have a day off. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back, everyone. We had a great time. Many thanks again to all of our friends up there in beautiful Hayward, Wisconsin. The great staff that we have up there at WBZH, our news talk sports station in Hayward, as well as our brand new music station, Muskie 101. So a great team up there, Big G, Gray, doing a great job. We appreciate all their help up there. And many thanks to all the people at the American Birkebeiner for letting us bring some of those sights and sounds to you. It was such just a really, really fun time. And look forward, if we're able to go back next year. Want to turn our attention to current events and no better. By the way, coming up in hour two, what's worse today, we have a cold and flu season. What's worse? I am, knock on wood, staying healthy, but I know a lot of people are down and out. So we'll talk a little bit about the cold and flu season. The Milwaukee Brewers kick off the season for the first time since 1971 without Bob Uecker. It sounded strange, but we'll play the opening by Jeff Levering a little bit later on. And the Badgers, bad loss for the Wisconsin Badger men's basketball team. Tough loss at home against the dreaded, the evil, the terrible Oregon Ducks. Wisconsin, the bakery was open down on Monroe Street, or actually, I guess on Dayton Street. But the Badgers had 17 turnovers. 17. You're not going to win a lot of games.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
No, it was 17 turnovers. So all that and more, but want to begin with what's happened over the course of the weekend. These days, the news comes by the hour, sometimes by the minute. No better person to help us sort through all this. Been looking forward to talking with him for a couple of weeks now. And, of course, many of our fine listeners who are also fans of Matt Flynn have been asking for him. And here he is in the flesh, a two-time chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, an attorney, and also a veteran of the United States Navy, the one, the only, our friend, Matt Flynn. How are you, my friend?
Terrific, Todd. I'll tell you what, I like being back on the Todd Allbaugh Show. Matt Flynn direct on the Todd Allbaugh Show.
That's right. It's kind of a compilation. Well, you always open your shows, Matt, with, you're not woke until you know history, and you take us to the front lines of history being made every minute of every day. Wow. Lots of history being made every minute of every day these days, Matt. And I want to, again, you're a kind of a Renaissance guy. You're a man of many talents. You've, to clean it up for radio, as you say, you've seen a lot of stuff, and so I appreciate that about you. For the first couple of topics here, of course, an attorney, activist, the Democratic Party, a leader, but I really appreciate the fact that you're a veteran of the United States Navy. And I think that what happened over the last 3 to 4 days here, in terms of President Trump firing the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, also Secretary of the Navy, several others are coming. Over 5,000 civilians in Department of Defense have been told they're letting go. Um, just let's start things off, Matt. As a veteran, what does this mean to you?
Well, let me tell you something. As a veteran and just as an American citizen, you're seeing the slow Nazification of our culture. And there are 50 Republican senators, 50 eunuchs, Council of Eunuchs, who are sitting by and they're accommodating it. Now, let me just talk about the military briefly, just like you said. He fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, an Air Force veteran with a full general with 41 years of service, 4-star, who also happens to be an African American guy and a combat pilot and terrific. And what he fired was actually the chief of naval operations, the CNO, who's a woman, Lisa Franchetti, who is a 4-star admiral. And he fired the admiral in charge of the Coast Guard, who's a woman. He fired one black guy and 2 women. This guy, when he talks about getting rid of DEI, that's just a front. He's talking about getting rid of black people and women. That's all he's talking about. And so by doing that, when I was in the Navy, the chief of naval operations was Elmo Zumwalt. He was a revered admiral, and he would send us Z-grams. So we get these, there was no internet back then, but we did get these sort of faxes about this and about that. He was a leader. What Trump is trying to do is politicize the military, and he made a very bad mistake. He said that he admired Hitler's generals. He said that in the past. What he doesn't know is that Hitler's generals tried to kill Hitler. They planted a briefcase with a bomb in it, and unfortunately not close enough to his desk, and it blew off his fingers, but it didn't blow the bastard up, okay? So in this case, I hope we do have Hitler's generals. but what he's doing is he is going to end up having political officers on ships and in regiments. The Russians do that. They put a political officer on every submarine, every ship, and they spy and they rat on the captain and they rat on the XO and all this. We are seeing the Russianization of our military. And quite frankly, Donald Trump only has 3 guiding principles in his life, and they are sadism, treason, and fraud. That's it. And he's inflicting that on the country, and we've got to stand up.
I think, Matt, I have family who serves on the civilian side in the military. I have the honor and privilege. I never served myself like you, but I had the honor and privilege of doing military affairs for about 5 years for a member of Congress here in Wisconsin. And anybody who's either served or had the privilege of working with our military men and women, the people that put on the uniform every day so that we can enjoy the freedoms that we have up until this point all enjoyed, you understand keenly that these folks, and I want you to talk a little bit about this, these folks, to accomplish, they are mission driven. They are given a mission, whatever that is. And it varies from branch to branch, from unit to unit, but they have a mission. And they come together regardless of race, sexual orientation, gender, political background, and they accomplish that. Former General Colin Powell, former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff as well, wrote a great autobiography. I really recommend it if you ever get the chance for the listeners. But he talked as a kid whose parents came, I believe, from Jamaica, and he grew up in Brooklyn. And he never thought he would have opportunities in the private sector that the military afforded him, because I don't want to say it's colorblind. That's not true. Nothing really is. But it gave him the best shot of being judged on his accomplishments.
No, you're absolutely right. And you put your finger on something very, very important. The military, time and again, has been told to accommodate groups that society has not yet accommodated. For instance, Harry Truman integrated the military, and so he demanded that black people be treated the same as everybody else. And the military said, fine, and they did it, even though much of the country in the late 40s wasn't willing to do it. The second thing is he said, bring women in, the Democratic Party did, and have them in combat positions. The military said, fine. And it was one of the smartest things we did, because we need staffing on submarines, on aircraft carriers. A lot of it's computers. Then they say, well, bring in transgender people. And it's worked. There aren't many of them, but they're accommodated and they serve honorably. The military has always, without question, accommodated what they've been told, and it's always been positive. This is the first time that you have a guy who's firing black generals, female generals and admirals, anybody that he doesn't like, and putting in political officers. And I do not want political officers on a ship. On my ship, if we'd had a rat walking around as a political officer to snitch on the captain, and is he insufficiently loyal to Trump and that kind of thing, you turn into Russia. Mm-hmm. And this is a message to everybody listening, and some of you may have voted for Trump. This is not the Republican Party. We need a center-right party and a center-left party, but two American parties. The Republican Party is not anymore an American party. Trump is a glioblastoma in our brain and our culture. He's got to be taken out, lawfully, of course, got to be taken out, and we cannot let this cancer continue.
Do we have time for the George W. Bush cut, Zommer, before the break? This is, Matt, to your point, here was former President George W. Bush in the 2000s talking about Ukraine.
As we welcome new NATO allies, we also affirm that the door to NATO membership remains open to other nations that seek it, in the Balkans and beyond. Here in Bucharest, we must make clear that NATO welcomes the aspirations of Georgia and Ukraine for their membership in NATO, and offers them a clear path forward to meet that goal. So my country's position is clear. NATO should welcome Georgia and Ukraine into the membership action plan. And NATO membership must remain open to all of Europe's democracies that seek it.
Former President George W. Bush in the 2000s. Matt, I probably played that a little premature. I don't want to transfer completely into Ukraine yet, although we're going to get to that. But to your point, Matt, Donald Trump is not the party of even George W. Bush, regardless of what folks may have feelings on George W. Bush. That cut right there shows how far the Republican Party, the old party, has fallen in just 15 years.
Right. The center-right party was the Republican, center-left was Democrat. They're both patriots, and they both resisted the Russians. The Russians have been our adversary for a long time, and they're dangerous, very, very dangerous. Trump is being, in my view, sexually blackmailed by Putin because of the Steele video. And he will do anything for Putin. He's servile to Putin. And he cannot be permitted to say, well, now we're with Putin and we're against Ukraine. That does not have the assent of the Democratic Party, the Republican Party, or anybody else.
Come on back, Matt Flynn, after this on the Civic Media Radio Network. You're listening to the Todd Allbaugh Show for Monday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
Conversation 92.7 WMDX.
Blind Shot Social Club, a perfect blend of cool, casual.
We can play a little
dining,
Johnny Cash coming in, and we'll use the Millie cut,
cocktails and non-alcoholic
and then we'll
drinks
move on
too.
after that.
A hidden gem on Madison's East Side. Blind Shot Social Club, open to everyone. BlindShotSocialClub.com.
I'm Dan Schaefer. Let's recombobulate. Wisconsin's next major election is already here. The race for state Supreme Court is ramping up with just a few weeks to go before the April 1st general election. Much like the race 2 years ago, this will determine the balance of power on the court. If Susan Crawford wins, the court remains in liberal control. If Brad Schimmel wins, the court flips back to a right-wing majority. But there are a number of differing dynamics from the race in 2023. That race, won by Janet Protasewicz, was the culmination of a years-long effort for liberals to win control of the court. Now they're playing defense to keep that majority. This also begins a run of 6 years in a row with a race for Wisconsin Supreme Court on the spring election ballot. Because of which justices will be up in coming years, if Crawford wins this year, the court will likely remain in liberal control until at least 2028. Find more bigger picture analysis of the race in my latest column at the Recombobulation Area.
The Maggie Dawn Show.
Marquette University professor and pollster extraordinaire Charles Franklin.
Deporting immigrants who are in the U.S. illegally. 60% support that, but when we ask the same question and just add at the end, including those with jobs and no criminal record, then support drops to just 43%.
Wisconsinites have a sense of fairness.
The Maggie Dawn Show. Weekdays from 2.
On this side of the law, on that side of the law, who is right, who is wrong, who is for and who's against the law?
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network, along with Matt Flynn, who is always direct. It is 21 past the hour of 12 noon on this Monday, February 24th. Glad to have you along on the Civic Media Radio Network. Always fun to catch up with our friend and ongoing contributor, Matt Flynn, a two-time chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, an attorney, also a veteran of the United States Navy, and also a great author. We will talk more about some of Matt's latest works a little bit later on in this hour. Matt Flynn, so kind as to give us an hour of his time. We appreciate it, Matt. I want to play a cut here. I know you've heard this. Many of our listeners may have heard it. I think it's worth replaying. Correct me if I'm wrong, Matt, on the other side, but I think that this is a former chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, General Milley, who this was after on his way out before Trump. This is while Joe Biden was still president, and he was on his way out of the chairmanship before the current. Well, now the former Joint Chief of Staff who was fired over the weekend by Trump. But here is General Milley giving all of us as Americans, and I believe, a directive to the men and women in uniform across this country, a directive.
To a country. We don't take an oath to a tribe. We don't take an oath to a religion. We don't take an oath to a king or a queen or to a tyrant or a dictator. And we don't take an oath to a wannabe dictator. We don't take an oath to an individual. We take an oath to the Constitution, and we take an oath to the idea that is America, and we're willing to die to protect it. Every soldier, sailor, airman, Marine, Guardian, and Coast Guardsman, each of us commits our very life to protect and defend that document, regardless of personal price.
Former General Milley, Joint Chiefs of Staff, Matt Flynn. I think that on his way out, he was saying, don't go along with this new guy if he gets back in, because that's not what we're here for.
It was a terrific statement, and you couldn't put it any better. And as a result, Trump has said he's taken away Milley's security detail, took it away, and he is saying he may prosecute Milley. Trump, we're seeing a Nazification of our culture. Let me tell you what's going on here. If you can imagine, say in 1943, in the middle of the Second World War, suddenly Franklin Roosevelt saying, Churchill is a dictator, Hitler is somebody we can work with, he's a genius for getting all this land, we are now going to side with Hitler and fight the British and fight the French. Suppose he'd said that. A president cannot override the Constitution. A president cannot speak for everybody and just switch sides. You can't do that. What he's doing now is trying to do that. Say, well, now Ukraine is bad, Russia's good, and let me tell you something even worse. This new chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, if he's in front of the Senate and I was in the Senate, I'd say, sir, if you got an order from Trump to side with the Russians and oppose Ukraine militarily, send American troops over there and shoot Ukrainians, would you obey that order? And if that son of a whatever does anything except hell no, out he goes.
Yeah,
This is very, very serious.
This guy you're
Very
talking about,
serious.
Kane, General. By the way, he's a 3-star.
Yeah,
He's a
Raising
3-star, and he's
Yeah.
going to replace a
And
4-star,
retired.
which
Yeah.
I don't think which has ever happened. You're right, he's retired. They're bringing him back. He's quoted as telling Donald Trump, "quote I would kill for you," unquote. I mean,
Right. The one thing, well, let me tell you something. That's Donald Trump that said that, by the way. We want to assess this guy, but he's a 3-star. He is not qualified to be the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff for a lot of complicated reasons, but the law says that the president can override all of those regulations if it's somehow needed as an emergency, and Trump is doing that. The fact is that the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff now, this 41-year veteran of the Air Force, is superb. This rotates among the services, so it's got to be an Air Force person this year. And so what he's doing is sticking another Air Force retired guy whom he thinks will be right-wing and knuckle under. We cannot let the military be politicized.
Right.
I can't emphasize that enough. This is not a trivial thing.
And Matt, we have 3 minutes here before the break or so, and we'll pick it up on the other side. I want to have you start talking about, because your unique perspective, not only are you a Navy veteran, you're also an attorney. Talk about, because I think this part got a little overshadowed with what we just talked about. Not to say that what we just talked about is unimportant. It's not. But talk to us about the importance also of Trump firing, I believe it was 18 inspectors general. And these are the folks, Matt, keep me honest here, as I understand it, these JAG officers and JAG officers in the military, and also the inspectors general across the administration, these are the people that know the law. And in the military, correct me if I'm wrong, the JAG officers are the one group of folks that can tell the generals, no, you don't have to follow that order from the commander-in-chief because it's unconstitutional.
You're right. What Trump did is for 2 separate reasons. For the 18 inspectors, these are the ones that are, in effect, ombudsmen who look at these agencies and inspect them for illegality and fraud. Trump and Musk are fraud on the hoof. They do not want anybody there blowing the whistle on their fraud. And so as a result, they fire these people and either going to put in compliant people, MAGA-type people, or they won't replace them at all. And all that does is accelerate fraud in agencies. With regard to the JAG officers, JAG, by the way, stands for Judge Advocate General. And I, in the Milwaukee Navy League, am the Judge Advocate General for the Navy League. And that's the legal officer just for the Navy League in Milwaukee. It's real small potatoes. But the JAG Corps at the higher levels in the Army, Navy, Air Force, et cetera, exactly right. The generals, if he gives an order, all right, I want to send American troops to Ukraine and to side with the Russians in combat. A JAG officer at the highest levels will say to the general, the admiral, you cannot obey that order. That is an illegal order. You can't do it. They don't do it frequently, obviously, but they can do it. By removing them and perhaps not replacing them, or replacing them with people like the Pam Bondis or the Attorney General, who are basically Stepford wives or werewolves and the rest of them, he has found a way, a chink in the Constitution, to destroy our democracy by using the Constitution. That's because the president, the executive, controls the prosecution, controls the Attorney General.
Yeah.
Nobody ever thought they could corrupt people in, but they have.
Stay tuned. More Matt Flynn on the other side. Matt Flynn, direct Todd Allbaugh on a Monday, February 24th on the Civic Media Radio Network. Come on.
On that side of the law, who is right, who is wrong, who is for and who's against the law.
Real news and great conversation.
Appreciate your comment, LA Tom. I get it. I think I understand your perspective. I guess I disagree a little bit. I still think that while W wasn't held harmless on some of the things he did, that I think it's useful and valuable because we're not just a show that's trying to talk to the liberal base. We want to try to be inclusive in terms of people's views as possible across the entire state. And I think that singling out some things that W did well, whether it's PEPFAR in Africa or whether it's, supporting Ukraine, I think that then allows people who might typically be leaning towards MAGA, but they're not drinking the Kool-Aid, but they're in the middle. That allows them, okay, well, this guy Todd, he can at least, he's not going completely left. He sees the value on people regardless of their political affiliation. So I do it sometimes just to be a little bit more politically inclusive in it. But, I certainly respect and get your point too.
And so, we really need to look at these unintended consequences that happen.
Novak says that as an association, they have sent a letter to the Trump administration pleading them to take another look at the tariffs. From the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo, and we'll check out those midday markets right after this.
$1 billion. That's how much equipment is stolen from U.S. construction sites every year. These thieves are stalling projects, hurting Wisconsin's family-owned businesses, and driving up costs for everyone. Judge Brad Schimmel takes theft seriously. He holds criminals accountable and protects the people who are just trying to do their jobs. Call Judge Schimmel and thank him for protecting us. Paid for by the Associated Builders and Contractors of Wisconsin.
Well, hold on to your britches, everybody. It's time to
Hold
go
on to my
nuts
britches.
at the Springfield Corners Testicle Festival. March 8th, you can enjoy deep-fried delicacies along with ice-cold beverages and live music by the Lights Out Band. Join me, the fabulous Farm Babe, along with the rest of the Midwest Farm Report team at Springfield Corners for your chance to win concert tickets and to try some fried Rocky Mountain oysters. It all kicks off after 2 p.m. on March 8th. Springfield Corners. See Facebook for more details.
Should I go to the Springfield Quarter Testicle Festival? Should we do the show from the Testicle Festival?
I think we should.
The grain markets are sliding today.
I'm not sure if I have the balls to do it.
7 3/4 at 483.5, and new crop corn is down 5.5 at 469.5. Cash soybeans are down 7.5 at 1032, with new crop soybeans down 5 at 1054 3/4. March wheat is down 12.5 at 577.5, where July wheat is down 11.25 at 606. Class 3 milk is seeing a mix as March contracts are up 2 cents at 1908 a hundredweight, and April contracts are down a penny at 1870 a hundredweight. For the Midwest Farm Report, I'm Ben Jarbo.
This is your local civic media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
No way, Rob. There's a testicle festival in Yuba, and I've never been to it?
50s, but it's a bit breezy.
Holy macaroni.
30 miles per hour. We'll become
We should absolutely do the one from Yuba. When is it? What time of year?
With
What
highs
month?
in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlau. Right now, 47 degrees.
Welcome to the Lazy Oaf Lounge, Madison's East Side place for friends and family to meet for fun and food. Stop in for great daily lunch specials, soups made from scratch, and jaw-dropping burgers, wraps, and sandwiches. Plus Friday fish fry and homemade pizza cooked in a classic stone hearth pizza oven. The Lazy Oaf Lounge, 1617 North Stoughton Road in Madison. Follow them on Facebook or at lazyoaflounge.com. Nightlight with Pete Schwaba.
We'll come back.
Would you
We'll
like to
do
hug?
that,
It's International Hug Day. I
Chuckster's
wouldn't say Josh
text,
Brolin is
talk
like
about
my
that a little
favorite
bit more.
actor, but he's got like a quiet macho-ness to him. Actor Glenn Morshower joins us now.
My self-esteem.
All right, Rob, this is great information. I'm going to check with Henry RCO. Thank you.
I keep a close watch on this heart of mine. I keep my eyes wide open all the time. I keep the ends out for the tie that binds. Because you're mine, I walk the line.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 minutes past the hour of 12 noon on February 24th, 2025. If you hear Johnny Cash being played on this show, odds are our friend and ongoing contributor Matt Flynn is not far behind. He is our wonderful friend, two-time chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, an attorney, a U.S. Navy veteran, and also a great author. We'll talk more about that in a minute. Matt Flynn, always a pleasure. Thanks for being here today.
Good to be with you, Todd. It always is. Matt Flynn Direct and the Todd Allbaugh Show.
It's a mashup. I think, well, it's Zombers, they called it a mashup now. When you mash up two things like that, songs or shows, yeah.
Yeah, mashup, or that's the main thing.
All right, very good. A little Flynn and Allbaugh mashup here on a Tuesday. If you'd like to call in, ask a question for Matt, 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. The phone lines are all, open. All callers welcome. No points of view off limits. Is that what you say, Matt? Have I got it close?
Yeah, that's what we used to do. That's what you do. It's a great way to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. 855-752-4842. Let's go to the text line first, if we could, Mr. Zommers. A caller in Racine, the Chuckster in Racine, calling in and wants to ask Matt, what happens to, we're talking about, by the way, before the break, Donald Trump firing some of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, other officers, JAG officers as well. And the Chuckster asks Matt, what happens to the generals, admirals, and officers that Trump fires? Can they still serve in the U.S. military in other roles? What about their military rank and pensions? Or are they just out? Matt?
Right. No, excellent question, Chuckster. And here's the answer. If all he does is fire them, no, they go back into active service. They keep their pensions under any circumstances. However, with some of them, like with Miley, he reduced him in rank, and he reduced his pension, and he threatened him with prosecution, took away his security detail. Remember, Tommy Tuberville, who's one of the worst senators, threats the United States.
Mm-hmm.
Tommy Tuberville of Alabama stopped about 500 promotions of flag-type officers for 10 months. He demoralized our military. Many of them retired early. We lost an awful lot of experience. The Republican Party does not love America. It does not love our military. It hates, and I'm talking about the new Republican Party under Trump.
Right.
It hates America, and it hates our military. And so Trump, what he can do with some of these people, I don't think he will, because they haven't ticked him off enough. He can say, I'm reducing you in rank, which will reduce their pension. He can say, you're out. You can't be an officer anymore. But he has to say that. He can't just replace them.
And Matt, I mean, look, you can tell me off. We're friends. I don't care, as long as you keep it FCC compliant. But I mean, I don't disagree. I agree with you that I believe that Donald Trump and the people that he's appointing to these cabinet posts and also some of the leadership, I think that they don't care about America. I think that Trump is a Russian asset. But I would amend that, in my opinion. You push back if you want. I don't think that everybody in Wisconsin who's a local party chair or votes Republican, I don't think they hate America. And I don't even necessarily think that every Republican in Congress hates America. And I gotta keep myself FCC compliant. I think they're just chicken crap. I mean, they don't have any backbone. They don't have any chutzpah.
Well, look, I know a lot of people are Republicans, even in my own family, and some people voted for Trump. I respect all of that. We are a democracy. We need two parties, center right and center left. 90% of the Republican Party are patriotic Americans, 90%. But the 10% are the ones that are running the Republican Party. And Trump and his cabinet are emblematic of those. You're absolutely right that not every congressman and not every senator hates America. But one of the sad things is they're getting death threats. It's not just that they're afraid of primaries. Some people in that Congress could survive a primary, even if Trump opposed them. But Tillis of North Carolina, when Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, was up for confirmation, there were 3 votes against him among the Republicans. That was Moscow Mitch, that was Collins of Maine, and the Murkowski of Alaska, and all it required was one more. And he put the word out, I'm going to oppose him. The FBI came to tell us and said there were credible death threats against you and your family, and he caved for that reason. Donald Trump, remember, encouraged a mob to hang his vice president, hang Mike Pence, and he pardons them after they were unsuccessful.
Look, I'm not making this up. This is true. This is serious. I know Republicans in Wisconsin who either didn't endorse Trump or who endorsed Harris, and only half jokingly tell me now, I don't go into any buildings above the second floor. I mean,
right. There's a physical threat. God bless the Republican Party. Come back. Come back. You know, the Eisenhower Party.
All right.
We need you. We need you. But you have a guy who threatens.
The phones are lighting up, as Matt likes to say. Do not hang up. We will take you in order of your calls. 855-752-4842. Mark in Perdisac. Mark, if you can make it brief, what say you?
Yeah, well, let's remember that the Romans actually considered the term king as a curse word. I mean, even the emperors didn't, even though they had more power than the kings, they never assumed the title of king. I mean, we rejected kings in this country after the Revolution. Washington could have achieved a crown and didn't. And for Donald Trump to do this, and for Republicans not to say, that reject this, based on that alone should have been an impeachable thing that he did. I mean, it is just it's a crime against our Constitution. And these people take an oath to the Constitution, not to Donald Trump.
Mark, here's the thing. You're absolutely right. We're not going to have a king, but what's amazing about this guy is he comes right out and says, I'm switching sides. Zelensky's bad, Putin's good, and he expects the country to go along with him. Do not go along with him. I don't care if you write letters to the Canadian ambassador, the British ambassador, and the French ambassador saying that Donald Trump is a traitor to the United States. The American people don't stand with him. We have to have an expression, a popular expression of support for our NATO allies in Canada, which is also a NATO ally. Donald Trump cannot be permitted in the middle of a war to say we're switching sides.
855-752-4842. Let's go to beautiful Sussex. Gary out on the road in Sussex. Gary, thanks for calling. What say you?
Well, I got a couple things. First of all, I'm a mega Republican, and I love America, and I love our military. When I see military guys, I buy them lunch. So for you, Matt, to go out there and say in the beginning, you did kind of explain yourself after Todd told you that there's a lot of good Republicans that love America, and you did explain yourself. And you have a right to your opinion. I think that you're I don't want to use words, but I think that I don't know.
What's your question? What's your question, Gary?
Question.
Yeah, what's your point?
You said in the beginning we got to take Donald Trump out. Now, if I told you, Matt, I'm going to take you out.
I said lawfully.
What is that?
He said lawfully.
Wait a minute. I said lawfully. That's impeachment. That's criminal prosecution. Look at Gary. Let me tell you something. You've been on the phone with me for many years, and I appreciate your point of view. But I'm going to leave you with one. Hold on. I'm going to leave you with one thought, and that is this: you vote for Trump, that's fine. But if you think that Trump can switch us to Russia against Ukraine, and we're going to put up with it, you're wrong. You should not put up with it. You should not put up with it.
Let me ask Gary quickly.
Republicans I like are Eisenhower.
Gary, before you leave, just really quickly, I'm interested in your answer. Do you endorse what Trump is doing, switching sides in the Ukraine-Russia war?
Well, first of all, Zelensky is a dictator.
He's not.
He went out there.
Oh, come on, Gary. Why the hell are you even calling into the show? Call into the right-wing radio.
Matt, let me ask you a
you
question.
already chewed up a hell of a lot of time.
Okay, Gary, come back. I got a lot of callers on the phone, so I got to keep moving. 855-752-4842. Joe and Madison on WMDX. Joe, go ahead.
I would say that Zelensky is not a dictator, and Gary doesn't know what he's talking about.
All right, let's not take it personal, but yes, that's all right. Let's move on. Go ahead.
Well, point made. And two questions I want to ask you, Matt, bearing on your knowledge and your understanding of things. Two of them. One has to do with NATO. The other one has to do with this talk of annexing Canada. Can you tell me if NATO survives, given this turn that Trump has done, where he's allying himself with the dictator Putin, where we sit in terms of NATO. Does this blow up NATO? Do the Europeans have to look at a brand new fighting force that they put together from scratch? Do the leases that we have, the U.S. has for bases in Europe, do those get blown up as part of this? How on earth does NATO survive if we go forward with this idea of supporting, leaving Zelensky on the trash heap and going with dictator Putin? My second question is, Trump has been talking about annexing Canada. Isn't an annexation an illegal military occupation of a country? How on earth would we do that, given a country of that size and a country that is perfectly capable of putting forward, if U.S. troops went in there, a long time guerrilla warfare against us? Your thoughts on those two issues? Thank you very much, Matt.
Well, it's excellent, Joe, as always. Let me start with NATO. It's good news and bad news. The good news is that our NATO allies, recognizing that Trump is an aberration, but somebody they have to deal with, are planning for unification against Russia without him. And here's what they're doing. There are talks going on right now between Germany, France, and the UK that the UK and France will cover Germany and Italy with their nuclear weapons. So their nuclear weapons, the UK and France, are not as substantial as ours, but they're very, very capable of eliminating the Soviet Union. The problem is the minute there's any nuclear weapon launched, what happened at Hiroshima and Nagasaki is small potatoes. It would literally destroy the major cities in the world. We can't have it. But they will get together. They will send troops against Russia if it goes into Poland or into Lithuania. And so Article 5 will still be in effect, but by the Europeans. But the problem is they're not going to let us stay on bases that they think are being used to serve Russian interests. Trump is a criminal. Trump is an enemy of the people, an enemy of the United States. So that's number one. Number two, and for instance, we have a base in Holy Loch, Scotland, where we have our nuclear subs go for servicing and out to sea. If that gets shut down, our nuclear subs are going to have to leave, say, Norfolk or somewhere on the east coast of the United States, and it's going to be a lot tougher. Number two, with and I'm blocking, Joe, I think your question was NATO and refresh me again.
It was go ahead, Summers.
Yeah, it was NATO. Like, how is NATO going to survive? Are they going to disband and create a new one? Are we going to get kicked out of it? And also, how do they deal with us talking about annexing Canada? Since that seems clearly a bad idea and illegal.
Right. Well, it's all a bad idea. But so NATO will survive. NATO will survive, but limp along, hoping we get another president, a better one in 2028. With regard to Canada, you know what's offensive about? I mean, I have a sister-in-law from Canada. I mean, Canada are our friends. We are integrated economically.
William Shatner's from Canada. Jim Neighbors was from Canada.
Right.
Paul
Well,
Schaefer.
everybody's from Canada. He what he does is he'll say stuff like this. He'll say, "Okay, I'm going to make Gaza into a resort." He doesn't mean it. He says it to get headlines. But as a result of his saying that, there were fights between the hockey teams in Boston. It was terrible. It was disgusting, pitting us ostensibly against them. We've got to he can't do it. He can't do it for a variety of reasons. It is a violation of international law. It's an invasion. Number two, the people are not going to put up with it. But he will say the most provocative, disgusting things to get a headline and rile up, like Gary of Sussex. He'll rile up some of his base. And Canada is our friend. It is a member of NATO.
Right.
You can't have a NATO. It's a member of NATO. You can't have a member of NATO say, I'm going to occupy another NATO country. It won't happen, Joe. Thank you for your excellent questions, as always.
855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. This will not surprise you, Matt, because it happens every time you come on. Every single one of our 6 phone lines are lit up like a Christmas tree. Can you stay a little? Can you stay an extra 10 minutes into hour 2 if we can't get through everybody?
Yeah, sure.
All right, very good. As Matt says, do not hang up. We see you on the lines. More phone calls after this. 855-752-4842. It's Matt Flynn Direct on Todd Allbaugh on the Civic Media Radio Network.
All the time. I keep the ends out for the tie that binds because you're mine. I walk the line.
Real news and great
Matt
conversation.
Flynn
92.7
has the ability, as they say, to light it up.
Yeah, once he starts talking, we get 2 calls. Then once he starts taking calls, they all just like boom, 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 boom.
We love it. We love it.
And now we have more people trying to call in, and they can't because the phone lines are full.
The phone lines are full.
Every day we help home users and businesses keep their computers and networks.
But don't worry, we'll go through people.
Matt's going to stay around. We will take your calls in order of the call. Very important.
Madison Computer Works, the computers that work for you.
If you're living with dry age-related macular degeneration or dry AMD, you may be at risk for developing geographic atrophy or GA. GA can be unpredictable and progress rapidly, leading to irreversible vision loss. Now there's something you can do to slow it down.
See in the YouTube comments? Yeah.
Izervay is proven to slow
I'm
GA
piecing out of
progression. Izervay or avastin-capted Pagel is a prescription eye injection used to treat GA. Don't take it if you have an infection or active swelling in or around your eye. Izervay can cause eye infection, retinal detachment, or increased risk of wet AMD. Izervay may temporarily increase eye pressure. Your vision may be impaired after an eye injection or exam. Don't delay. Ask your doctor about Izervay today.
Izervay gets GA going slower.
Visit Izervay.com. That's IZERVAY.com.
Finding the special healthcare resources families need just got easier. Wisconsin Wayfinder, Children's Resource Network, helps kids with delays, disabilities, special healthcare needs, and mental health conditions. Call toll-free 877-9...
I hear the train a-comin', it's rolling around the bend, and I ain't seen the sunshine since I don't know when. I'm stuck in Folsom Prison, and time keeps dragging on. But that train keeps rolling on down to San Antone.
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. Time keeps rolling on. So does this hour. 52 minutes past the hour. 8 minutes before the hour of 1 o'clock on Monday, February 24th. Matt Flynn, our friend, ongoing contributor, 2-time chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, an attorney, U.S. Naval veteran, and author, joins us here on a Monday with Matt Flynn. Always a pleasure, Matt, as you do so well. You get people engaged, every phone line full. As Matt likes to say, do not hang up. We will take you in order of your calls. 855-752-4842. Let's get right to the phone lines. Gene in Eau Claire, listening on WCFW. Gene, what say you?
Well, great to hear your voice, Matt. Again, it's wonderful. I mean, you have a lot of experience in a lot of different areas, and it makes me sick. The way that Trump talks about Zelensky, he makes me sick. But anybody that's a dictator, I mean, people are saying, if they're spewing it, they're doing it. And we got dictator Trump right there, going after our economy, going after jobs, going after people's nest eggs, putting in Elon Musk, who doesn't even have any experience, and then Elon Musk has the kahunas to send notes to people that you better say the best 5 things or the things you did on your job. Well, if you don't know what the devil they're doing on their jobs, you shouldn't be supervisor and even going into those departments deciding who gets to say and go. I can't believe it, man. It's like weapons of mass destruction with Trump right in our economy and our whole country, and it's just unbelievable. Is there any one issue that we can all unite on, or any direction that we can take? And I'll take my answer off the air. Thank you so much, Matt, for all your information. Bye.
Great to hear from you as always, Gene. Yeah, let me just quick hit 2 things. One is, let me take Ukraine and Zelensky. Zelensky is a good man. He really is. He's been compared to the Churchill of the modern era. And for Donald Trump, just to, in the middle of a war, basically, say we're switching sides, that can't be done. We can't permit that. I'd encourage everybody, you want some small thing you can do, write a letter or an email to the ambassadors of our allies, to Canada, the UK, France, Italy, Spain, Germany. Tell them how much we value our alliances. Donald Trump does not speak for us. He's a bad man, and we are not going to support him in any of this baloney. Number two, though, is Elon Musk. Now, Elon Musk, let me put it to you very succinctly. He's worth $400 billion. His aspiration is to be the first trillionaire. Think about that. Trillionaire. But his road to being a trillionaire goes through Social Security and Medicare.
Yeah.
Goes through Social Security and Medicare. They're cutting right now. You're not going to be able to afford an old age home or assisted living if you're a person of modest means in our small counties around the state. All of this stuff is paid for by either Medicaid or Medicare, so many things. They are simply taking it apart. Judges are standing tall, but the six tarantulas on the Supreme Court still have to weigh in. And even if they finally weigh in okay, they have no army. Trump is using the Constitution. He's seen a chink in it. He controls the army and the prosecutors to try to really destroy our country. We must stand tall, write letters and emails to all of the ambassadors of our allies, say how much we treasure them. Trump is a bad man, and Putin is our enemy.
855-752-4842. Go out to the West Coast. And, actually, Ali, first of all, go up to Northwoods. Ali is first. Ali, I was just up there in Hayward. It's a beautiful part of the state. If you can make it quick, please. Ali, go ahead.
Well, I just agree with Mr. Flynn, and I called the Ukrainian embassy this morning and left a message asking them to relay to President Zelensky not to trust Trump. He's a liar. He's broken laws from day one, and look what he's done to America in one short month. They should not believe a word he says. Their phone number is 202-349-2963. I encourage everyone to call them and express their dismay at Trump.
That is a wonderful message. Thank you for calling in. Let the Ukrainian embassy know. Let all of our allies know. Trump is a liar. He's a Russian asset. He does not represent the vast majority of the United States, and we will not permit him to do what he's doing.
Let's go quickly to the West Coast. L.A. Tom. L.A., you got about a minute. If you can get it in, please go ahead.
All right. People need to remember out there that Ukraine, through the Bucharest Accord, actually got rid of their nuclear weapons, actually called people in the United States to get rid of some of their uranium. We need to stand by Ukraine 150,000%, because of the fact that they could have actually had that nuclear weapon and have taken out Russia themselves, but they chose to want to make a new day for themselves, and America needs to stand behind them 150,000%. Thank you.
Great call, L.A.
I'm with you, and I'll tell you what. They need to be in NATO, and we need to stand by Ukraine. Russia under Putin is an enemy of the United States.
What do you think? Angie Monroe listening on MDX. Can you do it in 30 seconds, Angie?
Well, no, she was actually not the next caller.
Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize.
We don't have enough time.
All right. We'll get it in after the next break here. Matt, thanks for staying around. We know your time is valuable. Give us quickly in 20 seconds here. What's the website for your books, Matt?
Well, go to Amazon or Barnes & Noble. Look for Matthew Flynn, and look for Milwaukee Jihad, China Code, or Hunting Bernie Weber.
There you go.
See a lot in there that you've heard on the radio.
All right, we'll come back more with Matt Flynn. Do not hang up. We see you on the lines. More calls with Matt Flynn. What's worse on the Todd Allbaugh Show on Civic Media.
News and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. The The John and Gordy Show.
Let's go right to the phones here on John and Gordy.
You had spoken a previous hour about the Trump Golf Index.
Yes.
And it also includes a running tally or chart of the price of eggs and the price of gasoline, which is but great show. And I would really recommend going back to the Trump Golf Tracker, because that what better way to keep track of the man?
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app. Local radio for you and your community. It's Civic Media's mission with stations across Wisconsin. Find your favorites at civicmedia.us. This is 92.7 WMDX Columbus, Madison's home for real news and great conversation. A Civic Media station.
ABC News, I'm Michelle Franzen. At the White House, President Trump hosting France's leader discussing Ukraine as it marks 3 years since Russia's invasion. The Trump administration has shifted its U.S. policy on Ukraine as it tries to broker an end to the war. French President Macron saying Ukraine needs security guarantees to ensure long-time peace.
We are very aware of the necessity to have guarantees and solid peace in order to stabilize the situation.
The Trump administration continuing its work to take apart USAID, placing most of its staff worldwide on leave and firing 1,600 U.S.-based employees. That after a federal judge rejected workers' request to extend a temporary block. Pope Francis remains in a Rome hospital in critical condition, but the Vatican today says he is showing slight improvement. Egg prices continue to soar due to bird flu. The wholesale cost for a dozen eggs hovering just above $8. The cattle industry says drought and low cattle stock also driving beef prices higher. This is ABC News.
Your news, conversations, and a whole lot of fun. It's all on your local Civic Media radio station or the Civic Media app.
Indeed.
For 92.7 WMDX News, I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. A plan to create a new charter school in Madison has been withdrawn. Tonight, the Madison School Board was set to consider a proposal to create a trades-based charter school. The project was led by the Mackenzie Foundation and the Boys and Girls Club of Dane County. The goal was to eventually have 600 students learning skilled trades like engineering and life skills like money management. The charter school could have been under the umbrella of the Madison Metropolitan School District or UW-Madison. There were listening sessions earlier this year where there was support for the idea and concern that it wouldn't resolve key issues like transportation and stable home lives, which can keep kids from attending any school. Opponents said they would rather see more programs available for students at MMSD locations. Well, now it seems that's what may happen. The Mackenzie Foundation and Boys and Girls Club of Dane County withdrew their proposal this morning. A statement says that decision followed, quote, careful consideration from all organizations, end quote. Instead, it seems the nonprofits will collaborate with the school district to create career and college programs in school. We have some unusual weather this week, at least unusual for February. All week, we're expecting highs in the 40s, except for today, where 50 is in the forecast.
Hey, Todd, you know what came in the mail over the weekend?
Of our winter recreation activities
my
are
DVD
no
copy
more.
of
Ice
Just a
skating
Bit
at
Outside.
Madison Parks is officially done for the season.
Jealous.
It's a relatively short run.
Are you
race
going to have
is
everybody
open
over
in
for
December.
a party?
To the parks yesterday.
Maybe, but I already made them watch it in the theaters.
Meanwhile, Dane County
So
snowmobile trails are closed
Your roommates
too.
aren't going to sit and watch.
That
You
is
can watch it
quite
with
a
your
short
roommates.
season. They only had like 5
they
or
would
6
probably
days.
watch it again.
Last year was
At least the
similar.
one,
Only
at
had
least
about
Elliot, but he's still in
We're not the
Panama.
only ones closing up
Oh,
shop.
that's right.
This
He's in
warmer
Panama.
weather
How long has he
means
been gone
trails are
for?
closed in
Another
lots of
4
counties
days.
up
Oh,
north,
wow.
too. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. This is 92.7 WMDX News.
Elliot, if you're watching on YouTube, leave a comment about whether or not you'll watch Just a Bit Outside again.
Yes,
You know,
Elliot, you
there's
should.
bonus features and stuff.
Oh, really?
Yeah, they have a little extra things in there, so I'm looking forward to seeing what they got.
Lillard has been limited with a hamstring injury and marveled how backup guard Kevin Porter Jr. took over the game after being traded here from the Clippers.
I think, first of all, it was fun to watch. I think when you are a star in this league, a lot of times the weight of the game shifting is on you. KP scoring, from being able to see him since he was in high school to college to even, his time in the NBA. I've seen him many times have huge nights.
Kevin Porter Jr., nicknamed Scoot, on what it's been like since he arrived in Milwaukee.
As soon as I came in here, I felt very welcome, and that's big, that's huge, especially when you got people like Giannis, Dame, Doc, a winning organization, the fan base, how Milwaukee has welcomed me, and it's been beautiful, honestly.
honestly. So I'm blessed to be where I'm at.
That's Bucks guard Kevin Porter Jr. With sports, I'm Mike Clemens.
You can always continue the conversation on social media. Share your thoughts when you find and follow Civic Media on Facebook, X, and Instagram.
A blast of spring today. Under mostly sunny skies, high temperatures soar to the low 50s. But it's a bit breezy, with the west wind whipping up to 30 miles per hour. It will become cloudy tonight, with lows falling below freezing. And another mild day tomorrow, with highs in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 48.
Max Inc. on Civic Media with Mike and Wendy from Sunspot. Can you imagine the mosh pit on the bridge? That could happen.
Oh, well, that's how the original series was when they moved the camera. Whenever it's the red alert, right?
Yeah,
that was the mosh pit.
Yeah. And everybody had to fake
right.
Yeah,
Lean left,
great.
lean right. Yeah.
Join us for all the fun with Max Inc. on Saturday nights, 6 to midnight, across the Civic Media Radio Network and on the Civic Media app.
When a parent sees their child smile, they see hope. Aleem hoped that his son Rajib would have an easier life than he had. You see, Rajib, just like his father, was born with a cleft. But thanks to Smile Train, both father and son received free, life-changing surgeries, transforming their smiles into symbols of hope. To learn more and support the global
About
cleft
30 seconds.
community,
Thank you.
visit Smile.
Live from the Civic Media World Headquarters in Madison, Wisconsin, it's the Todd Allbaugh Show. And now, pursuing truth wherever it may lead, here's your host, Todd Allbaugh.
Across Wisconsin on the Civic Media Radio Network and streaming worldwide on the Civic Media app. Good afternoon, everybody. I'm Todd Allbaugh, along with Aaron Zommers, our producer and engineer, back on the board after a day off. Glad to have him along. Glad to have you along. It is 6 minutes past the hour of 1 o'clock on this Monday, February 24th, 2025. It is a great day to be a Wisconsinite here at our world headquarters in downtown Madison. Overcast skies. Some parts of Wisconsin may hit the old 50-degree mark today. A little, I'm not sure to call it a late winter or early spring thaw, but temperatures may kind of moderate out. Temperatures in the 40s, looking like some rain in parts of Wisconsin later on in the week. So maybe that old groundhog, Jimmy the Groundhog, was right, Zommers. Spring may be coming early.
That seems to be the case, but you never know. In Wisconsin, when you get second or third winter,
Right.
it happens. It's hard to say.
You know, we got the boys basketball tournament coming up here in Madison. You always seem to get a big snowfall for that. So probably plenty of winter left, but it feels kind of nice after a weekend up in Hayward. Beautiful weekend up in Hayward. We covered the Birkebeiner up there. Just a good time had by all. Coming up a little bit later in this hour, a What's Worse? Cold and flu edition. We'll ask you those questions and talk you a little bit about the Brewers getting their opener down in Arizona this weekend. And the first time in a long, long time without Bob Uecker. We'll discuss that. But we'll bring on our ongoing contributor and friend right now, Matt Flynn, a two-time chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, an attorney, a Navy veteran, and also a great author. Matt, you're a guy who gets about town. You ever been up there at Hayward at the Birkebeiner?
Yeah, I have a brother-in-law, and my sister-in-law passed away. But Jack Reeder of Reeder's Recess Resort. Anybody up in Hayward, Reeder's Recess Resort, Jack Reeder, my brother-in-law, good man, and I love going up there and visiting him.
Now, wait a minute, Matt. We've been friends for a while now. You know a guy that owns a resort, and I've been sleeping on a cot, on a futon up there in Hayward at the radio station.
Yeah, I've been to the radio station. I was interviewed there, and those are very, very Spartan accommodations for men of your stature.
Yes.
I will let Jack Reeder know. My friend Todd Allbaugh needs very decent quarters.
Next year, I'm staying at the place. That's great. That's great. Well, it's just a great.
Well, I played.
What?
Yeah.
Well, go ahead.
I played poker in the casino up there.
Did you really?
Yeah, go, yeah.
Oh, that's great.
Well, Charlie Pride was in a country thing. This is 10 years ago.
Uh-huh.
Who played poker. I like Hayward is a wonderful place. Wonderful place.
It really is. Well, great to have you along. Thanks for giving us a little bit more time here at hour number 2, Matt. Lots of people on the phone lines yet. You could join Matt, talk you a little bit about the news over the weekend, amongst them that Donald Trump, President Trump, firing the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff and several other military officials, over 5,000 civilian folks in the military as well, firing inspectors general across the board and judge advocates general, better known as JAG officers in the military, and also, dramatically changing the United States position with the war in Ukraine. Of course, everybody who knows facts, that knows the sky is blue, knows it was Russia who attacked Ukraine unprovoked. And now over the weekend, Donald Trump seemingly changing the foreign policy of the United States here. And here's a guy, Matt, we're going to get to the phone line. Don't hang up. We'll be right with you. But I want to get your quick take on a couple of things. Number one, Trump and Musk, among these big purges, they fire the people in charge of nuclear weapons until they found out, oh, wait a minute, they're in charge of the nukes. Then they try to rehire them, but they can't because they don't have their personal emails. I mean, these people, their elevator doesn't go to the top floor.
Right. The emblematic thing is Musk is there in a weird outfit with a weird, I don't know what kind of hat he had on, brandishing a chainsaw, Chainsaw Charlie. And that's how he treats human beings. That's how he cuts down his the forest for the hell of it. And he goes, "You 10,000 people, get out. You tell me any good things you do. And then he sends them these things saying they're being terminated for bad performance. That's false. This is blanket. That hurts them for future job applications. He does not care about human beings. Remember, he's a South African guy, and he became a citizen. Although, frankly. And if I were in office, I would investigate because he had a student visa in Stanford and didn't show up, but he stayed in the United States. That's a violation. It should have been disclosed. I wouldn't mind seeing him deported, quite frankly. He's a danger to the United States, absolute danger to the United States. And here he goes, here's a chainsaw. I'm going to cut a couple of million people in half and destroy their careers. Who puts up with that? We don't put up with that. We do not put up with that.
Here's another quick take, Matt. Over the weekend, Musk sent out from his made-up. I'm tired of people calling it, the Department of Government Efficiency. It is not a department. It is not anything that's been condoned by Congress. It's a made-up thing. It's a made-up agency. But Musk sends out to all department heads, including the military, that you have to get me by today, Monday, the top 5 things that you accomplished to justify your existence. And if you don't, I'll take that as your resignation. Now, Hegseth, Secretary of Defense, set up a new rapid response team at Department of Defense, and they have a new Twitter handle specifically for rapid response to Department of Defense. Wisconsin's own Congressman Derek Van Orton was carrying on about this, how he was all for it, and a couple of people pushed back. And he said, well, he said a lot of terrible things. Anyway, Derek Van Orton is clearly not tuned into his own administration. He's also a MAGA Republican, because get this, Hegseth's own Department of Defense put out the following statement. I want to read this for you, Matt Flynn, and get your take. Here it is. Quote, Department of Defense, DOD, personnel may have received an email from OPM, Office of Personnel Management, requesting information. The Department of Defense is responsible for reviewing the performance of its personnel and will conduct any review in accordance with its own procedures. When and if required, the department will coordinate responses to the email you have received from OPM. For now, please pause any response to the OPM email titled, quote, what you did last week, unquote. What did you do last week? Signed, Darren Selnick, performing the duties of the Undersecretary of Defense for Personnel and Readiness. Matt Flynn, this administration can't even get on the same page amongst themselves.
Right. These people, it's sort of like the Three Stooges, except I like the Three Stooges, right. And they're funny. This is not funny. This really is not funny. And you have a guy like Van Orden. By the way, Becca Cook did a hell of a job against him, and I'm hoping she takes him on again. This guy's a disgrace to the Congress. But getting back to this other thing, Right. They fire nuclear people, try to rehire them, can't find them. They say, give me 5 things that you did or you resigned, and then defense and the FBI as well did the same thing, said don't respond. This is the Obergruppenführers fighting among themselves. The Führer stands above it, der Trumpenführer, and the Obergruppenführers start fighting against themselves. This is what's going on, and I'll tell you, treating human beings by brandishing a chainsaw and pumping it up and down and bragging that you've cut people's livelihood. You think that's funny?
Right.
You think that's funny, Jack? Well, let me tell you something. This guy does not have American values. He does not have American values.
855-752-4842. Matt has been kind enough to stay around to finish up these calls. 855-752-4842. Let's go to the phone lines. Dale, listening on WISS in Oshkosh. Dale, thanks for holding on. What say you?
Hey, Matt, great hearing you again. As a person who is totally dependent on Social Security for my retirement and seeing how Musk is trashing everything, what say you if things blow up out of proportion and Trump wants to compel the military for martial law?
Right. That's an excellent question. The military cannot and constitutionally should not be used for any domestic purpose. If he suspends the writ, he has to do what's called suspending the writ of habeas corpus and then declaring some kind of rebellion or an emergency. If he does that, our federal judges, even the 6 tarantulas, will have no choice but to enjoin it. Now, even if they enjoin it, they don't have an army. You know what it gets
Matt,
down to?
tell folks, put it down there
to
where the chickens can get at it. What for those of us who aren't illegal people? What does enjoin mean?
Well, enjoin it. The federal judges may say, no, you can't do that. No, you can't do that.
Okay.
But they have no army. They have no army. And so if Trump says the army is going to do it and the federal judges say no, you know what it comes down to, which is really sad? Who does the army obey?
Yeah.
And what's sad is the army is very diverse and it may obey different tasks. This is third world stuff. This has gone on in Latin America. This has gone on in Africa. And Trump is plunging us into this. And on Social Security, he could very well, by executive order, say Musk thinks that we should privatize it or reduce it by 80% or 20%, and it'll go to the 6 tarantulas. It's very dangerous what he's doing, and he's avoiding the Constitution.
855-752-4842. Let's go down to one of Matt and I's favorite cities in Wisconsin, Monroe, Wisconsin, home of the cheese bakers. Angie in Monroe. Angie, what say you?
I just want to say I've never been so embarrassed to be an American. It's pretty sad what I'm seeing. I am totally with Ukraine, and I'm glad that we're talking about this. That way I can call this embassy thing, and I'm glad we're talking about it. That way we all get together with ideas. We got to do something to save America.
Yeah.
I don't even know what to say. It makes me sick to my stomach, and I'm scared every day. And these people think we should be on Russia's side. What? I don't even know. I'm arguing with somebody on Facebook about this, and she wants us to be on Russia's side. And I'm like, no, that is not what we do. It's like, you go to Russia then. Why do we have to change America?
Yeah. Great.
Right. Angie, let me just make if I can just respond quickly, Todd. Angie, I would look at it this way. I'm never ashamed to be an American. I am proud to be an American. We have an un-American president that snuck in and is destroying the Constitution. The Russians have been responsible for torture, invasion, genocide, and fraud for a long time. In the Second World War, Stalin killed tens of millions of people, millions of Ukrainians killed. Trump is siding with a torturer and a genocidal sadist. We do not consent to go along with that. Get on the phone right away. Call the Ukrainian embassy. Call the NATO embassies. Say, we stand with you. Do not trust Trump. We do not support Trump.
I echo Matt Flynn's comments. I am proud every day to be American. Predominantly, our men and women in uniform and others across America. I'm proud of Matt Flynn, too. Come on back. More questions with Matt Flynn next on the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network.
choice. Madison's Real News and Great Conversation, 92.7 WMDX.
Attention. If you suffer from consistent pain in your joints caused by arthritis, overuse, or injury, you may be a candidate for a revolutionary therapy that could revitalize damaged tissue. This approach can provide long-lasting relief from pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, and other joints with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. To find out if you're a viable candidate, you may request a free consultation from QC Kinetics by calling 608-384-0897. Instead of masking the symptoms, it goes to the root of the problem to resolve it at its source. Already used by thousands of satisfied patients nationwide, this joint pain therapy is available right now to the public, but only for qualified candidates. Again, to find out if you're a viable candidate for this therapy, you may request a free consultation by calling QC Kinetics at 608-384-0897. That's 608-384-0897.
Tons of glass artists share the same passion for eye-catching art as Ignite Glass and Gifts, so we're showcasing their work alongside our talented local artists and our in-house Ignite artists. The latest techniques, the hottest colors, and mind-blowing designs are here for you to enjoy. Madison's favorite for glass, gifts, and vape, Ignite Glass and Gifts, Monona Drive, Williamson Street, and Odana Road, plus IgniteGlassandGifts.com. Do your eyes a favor and see this stuff.
Transform your outdoor space with David J. Frank, Wisconsin's award-winning landscape management company for 65 years.
An old cowboy went riding out one dark and windy day. Up on a ridge he rested as he went along his way, when all at once a mighty herd of red-eyed cows he saw plowing through the ragged skies and up a cloudy draw.
With the U.S. Constitution in one hand and his mighty writing pen in the other, helping save America each and every day, Matt Flynn Direct joins us, a two-time chair of the Democratic Party of Wisconsin, an attorney and Navy veteran, and yes, an author. Always glad to have him here. Mondays with Matt, 21 past the hour of 1 o'clock. Let's go right to the phone lines. One more call to get to here. It is Cindy in Appleton being very patient. Cindy, thanks for holding on. What's your question and a comment for Matt Flynn?
Well, I would just like to say that for everybody that calls to the radio station, they should be, as soon as they hang up, they should be calling their federal senator and their federal congressman and telling them to knock this off, do not cut Social Security. As a matter of fact, I talked to Tony Weed's office last week, and that office assured me they were not going to touch Social Security. Although I said I don't believe you people because you're a backer of Trump. So, but I think every time someone calls, they should also make that call to the legislators and tell them the same thing they're telling you.
Excellent point of view. And, in addition to calling ambassadors saying we stand with Ukraine, what you're saying is very, very important. The Republican Party, ever since George W. Bush, has floated the idea of privatizing Social Security and also voucherizing Medicare. So they would give you a voucher for Medicare, and you'd have to buy your own insurance, and they'd privatize Social Security, make it into a 401k. If that happened, people would get cheated on their investments, cheated in the stock market. You'd have to hire a lawyer to get the insurance company to cover your injuries. We can't let them do that. Musk believes in that. Musk will recommend that to Trump. Trump will then possibly try it by executive order. That is unconstitutional. But the 6 tarantulas on the Supreme Court, if they side with him, because they already have on a lot of things, that could be a very dangerous blow to our economy and to our country and our culture. So I stand exactly with Cindy. Thank you for calling. Good to hear from you again. Call all of them. Do not touch Social Security. Do not touch Medicare. don't voucherize them, and do not privatize them. Those are the words. Don't
Right.
privatize Social Security. Don't voucherize Medicare.
I want to get to a speed round here, Matt. I want to get your take on this. This is a longtime Democratic strategist, James Carville, one of the architects of the Clinton campaign, still goes on podcasts. He was on a podcast over the weekend, Matt. This is a very hot take, but I want the audience to listen to this from James Carville on what he thinks that national Democrats should do right now and a prediction, and get Matt's take on the other side. Here's James Carville.
Well, okay, I'm going to tease a piece I'm pretty sure will be coming out that I'm doing in the New York Times, probably Monday or Tuesday, but sometimes they'll kill it. But what I've said very publicly, the Democrats need to play possum. This whole thing is collapsing. It doesn't need Elizabeth Warren and somebody screaming to pacify some progressive advocacy groups in Washington, which, by the way, I wish these people were just useless. They're actually worse than useless, that they're detrimental. And they never, ever learn to shut up. And so, Dan, this is what I believe. I believe that this administration, in less than 30 days, in the midst of a massive collapse, and particularly a collapse in public opinion. Della Volpe at Harvard, who's very good. I used to think, once I saw a Harvard youth poll, I discounted it. I've come to say it's a pretty damn good poll. Pretty good guy. He's gone from 53 approval to under 30 to 39. That's a collapse. And all we need to do, the analogy I use, is picket is 500 yards from the stone wall. Hold your fire. It's going to be easy pickings here in 6 weeks. Just lay back.
It goes on from there, Matt Flynn, but that's James Carville, longtime Democratic strategist. He's saying that, and we see this in Wisconsin over the weekend, some of the Republican congressmen, Scott Fitzgerald, Glenn Grothman, others, lots of citizens in Wisconsin coming out to have their voice heard. Carville's predicting that this whole thing is going to collapse, especially when it comes to whether Congress does a continuing resolution or trying to pass a budget, that ultimately they're going to have to come to Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader. And when they do that, that's game over. That's what Carville's saying.
Listen, I think a lot of Carville. I think he is one of the best strategists we've had in this generation. But I disagree with him in this respect. The waving the arms, the shouting, and all that kind of stuff, I agree, is not particularly effective. But remember something, Trump just got elected. He's in for basically 4 years. And in those 4 years, he's put an administration of animals in there. If you take a look at they're pro-Russian, they're anti-vaccine, they don't care to give a damn about the American people. If we simply play possum, they're in there and they have compliant federal judges. There is an old adage that says the Supreme Court follows the election returns, and that is less true now, but it is true that we have to get public sentiment out there in spades. Now, the public sentiment, I mean, I like Elizabeth Warren, but she's not particularly effective. She shouts and yells, and everybody just takes it. They go, oh, well, that's Elizabeth Warren. But everybody who's just called into this show, everybody who either calls their representative and says, don't touch Social Security, or we stand with Ukraine, we're not going to let this clown do anything about that, or call the Ukrainian embassy and say, we stand with you, do not trust Trump. That is essential. It's essential. We can't play possum. I mean, he's from Louisiana. He plays possum. Look, we can't play possum. The point of the matter is how we don't play possum is important.
Yeah.
And you don't go out there putting up a scarecrow and waving your arms. Everybody's got to get behind this.
Right.
Stand up to everybody. We're with Ukraine. Trump is a traitor to the United States.
Matt Flynn, 1 minute. It's all yours. Tell us about your latest works in writing.
Well, let me tell you, I've published 5 books, but the one you might enjoy is a series, 3 series, the Bernie Weber series, of this guy from Wisconsin who's a math genius, and he cracks the ISIS code, the Chinese code, and he cracks another one and basically saves the country. You'll really like it. And it also has a lot of the ideas that I've been throwing out on the radio. So here it is, Matthew Flynn. Go on Amazon or Barnes & Noble or anywhere and go, it's China Code, Hunting Bernie Weber, and Milwaukee Jihad. and you will learn a lot about Wisconsin. There's not a ton of math in there. He's just a good kid, Wisconsin kid, getting the job done.
Matthew J. Flynn, great author, great friend. Matt, always a pleasure. Thanks for the generosity of your time, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Talk to you soon. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much, Matt Flynn. What's worse on the other side? The cold and flu edition. Join us.
Great conversation. 92.7 WMDX. Enjoying this local program? Find the complete Civic Media lineup.
I knew playing that Carvel Cut was going to generate feedback. That's fantastic. I don't think Carvel was talking about like everybody just do nothing. I think he's talking about the national party people up there.
Right. Yeah, that's what he's talking about.
Don't send Elizabeth Warren out there.
Don't take
fear
the bait.
monger. Right, exactly. Just let them do a little wait about a month here until this really self-destructs, because they're going to have to come back for a continuing resolution. And when they come back for the continuing resolution and they say we can't keep the government going without the Democrats,
the White House
that's
and
when
Elon
you
Musk
that's
have
when you
ordered
got
the Bureau to
right
stop
there.
nearly all its work. They also closed the Bureau's offices for a week earlier this month. In the lawsuit filed with 22 other states, the coalition argues that the dismantling of the CFPB would cause significant harm to consumers and block enforcement of federal consumer protection laws. And a beloved Wisconsin tradition has ended for the season. Here's Lisa Hale.
Sunday was the final day in the 16-day-long sturgeon spearing season in the Lake Winnebago system. The Wisconsin DNR says 943 prehistoric fish were harvested this year. That doubled last year's harvest, even with poor water clarity issues.
We'll clean up the Carvel thing real quick, and then we'll get into what's worse.
99% harvest trigger on the upriver lakes was hit, but that was late.
We'll still get to help it remind me. I want to make sure we do the Jeff Levering thing maybe when we come back out of the last break.
Were harvested this season.
We probably will not go back to
day
the
to vote
other
on
cuts.
names for
We'll save them.
Madison
Might do them tomorrow.
snowplows. The Streets Division staff got more than 1,000 submissions. They include Jump Plow Around, Snowy Tribbiani, Antifreeze, Leslie
Tribbiani.
Snope. The list just goes on and on. I don't think my suggestion made the cut. I submitted George because I thought it would be funny among all these puns. The deadline to vote is 8 o'clock tonight. They'll announce the winners in about a week when they have signs made of each of the new names for the snowplows. I'm Savannah Tomei Olson. You're listening to 92.7 WMDX News.
On your entertainment beat, I'm Pete Schwaba. Trust fund kid Elon Musk has drawn a lot of political criticism lately, but now he's under fire for being a bad parent from his own father. Errol Musk appeared on the Wide Awake podcast and said that his son will probably shoot him for saying this, but Elon is not a good father. This comes after rumors that Musk had fathered a 13th child, somehow with 16 women. Should probably fact check that. It's important to note that just a couple years ago, Errol Musk admitted to having a second child with his stepdaughter, who was only 4 years old when he married the child's mother, according to Rolling Stone. Errol and the girl's mom have 2 children of their own, as Musk apparently wanted his future baby mama to have playmates. For the record, Rolling Stone also reported that Elon Musk is not a fan of his father. He called him a terrible human being who has done
at
every
the,
evil thing or crime
at a bus
you could
stop in
possibly
London.
imagine, which is
It
probably why
has
they
Elon
decided
Musk
not
doing
to have
his
kids
special
together.
salute
For more showbiz
outside of a
fun, tune
Tesla.
into
It says
Nightlight
goes
with
from
me,
0
Pete
to
Schwaba,
1939
weeknights
in
from
3
6 to 8 p.m.
seconds.
on the
Tesla,
Civic
the
Media
swastika.
Radio Network.
Oh my God.
This is your local Civic Media radio station. Want to hear even more? Anytime? Find all of it at civicmedia.us.
A blast of spring today. Under mostly sunny skies, high temperatures soar to the low 50s. But it's a bit breezy, with the west wind whipping up to 30 miles per hour. It will become cloudy tonight, with lows falling below freezing. And another mild day tomorrow, with highs in the mid-40s. I'm meteorologist Brittany Merlot. Currently, it's 48.
Streaming TV is where it's at. It's not about cutting the cord anymore. It's all about your customized TV options. With the best and cheapest high-speed internet and your own TV subscriptions, we've got your dream TV lineup. Between wired and satellite internet and TV, save money and get more internet speed and better TV today by calling the Whole Home Connect.
800-217-9129. 800-217-9129. 800-217-9129.
The John and Gordy Show.
Brittany Merlot, our civic media meteorologist.
You know, I'd prefer the snow. I hate the ice. Death by driveway, be careful. I mean, just stepping outside of your house, don't slip and fall.
Did you say death by driveway? I'm just...
I did. You don't want to skim past that part, do you?
Weekday mornings 6 till 8 on 92.7 WMDX and the Civic Media app.
Having fun doing it. Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. 34 minutes now past the hour of 1 o'clock on Monday, February 24th, 2025. Zommers on the board. Many thanks to our friend and ongoing contributor, Mr. Matthew J. Flynn, Matt Flynn. He always gets a lot of people involved. Always. What I love about Matt is being an attorney, being a veteran. He knows facts. And anybody who can bring us facts and help us understand things in an understandable relation when it comes to legal things, when it comes to the military, I find that a benefit. And certainly he has a take at a point, and we agree a lot. We don't always agree on everything between Matt and I, but that's what makes us great friends, is that we can agree to disagree sometime and always laugh about it, right?
Yes, laughing is definitely something to appreciate about Matt Flynn, because he's a very funny guy. And also,
he really is.
Yes, I like how he will share that things are his opinion,
right?
As opposed to just stating everything as a fact.
Yeah, really great guy. Check out his books again, Matthew J. Flynn at Barnes & Nobles or Amazon. I have all of them. They're fantastic reads. Some are lighter-hearted reads, some are more serious, but you're always going to get a great time. Matt Flynn, wherever you buy your books. I knew that playing that James Carville cut would get some responses, and we have. And we're not going to replay it again, but basically James Carville over the weekend in a podcast, a longtime Democratic strategist, was credited with helping Bill Clinton get elected and reelected in the 90s. James Carville's, it's a hot take. I'm not going to say it's not. It's a hot take. And what James Carville is saying in that clip is that he believes that, and he's using a term, right? He's saying that Democrats should play possum for a little while. I don't think that he's talking about every single person in America. I think what he's talking about is, the way I took it, was Democratic leadership, the people in Washington, rather than going out and you know, in Carville's words, doing more damage by really saying some very left extreme things in some cases. Just kind of let Trump sit there, because he thinks in a month to 6 weeks, because remember, we haven't talked about this hardly at all. And we'll have Matt back on because he's really great at talking about this as well. That, remember, Congress kicked the can down the road. Coming up here very soon, Congress has to either pass a continuing resolution to keep the federal government running, or pass a budget, or the federal government will shut down. And so, remember, Mike Johnson, Speaker of the House of Representatives, has what, a 3-seat majority right now in the House of Representatives. So I think what Carville is saying there is, look, Trump's policies, as they get rolled out on the hour now almost, cutting defense, we just had another story today, we haven't even gotten to it, that several more staff members in the United States Department of Agriculture in Wisconsin have been let go. As somebody who grew up in rural Wisconsin and gets there a lot, we just spend time up in Hayward, travel around the state. When there's a program called the CRP payment program, CRP, Conservation Reserve Program. And what it does is it pays people in rural areas that have highly erodible land on big hillsides, pays them not to farm that per acre. And then you have to, I used to have, when I had my farm, I was in this program for a while. And it pays you to plant natural native grasses and alfalfa to help the land recover. And a lot of farmers, a lot of rural people, there's also forestry programs and others. They pay their taxes based on these federal programs for CRP, for forestry, and others. When those programs start going away and people can no longer get that money, things like that, then you're going to see people in rural America start saying, wait a minute, I didn't vote for this. And I think what James Carville is saying there is, don't alienate those folks. Don't start bashing them. Wait for this to just play out. And when the Trump administration starts collapsing hand over foot, that's when Republicans in Congress, Johnson, the speaker, is going to be forced to go to Hakeem Jeffries, the Democratic leader in the House, and say, we have to have your help to pass a budget or a continuing resolution. And Carville's saying that's when you know you've got the power. So I wanted to clarify that, because I don't think Carville's saying, don't. He would, I think, encourage, as would I, people to go out, peacefully demonstrate, show up at these town halls to congressional people, let your voices be heard peacefully, but show up. 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly to the phone lines. Jack, listening in Racine. Pardon me. Sorry, a little burp there, Jack. I apologize. Jack in Racine, go ahead. You know what it is, Jack? I've got it right here. I'm gonna over the weekend I found a new protein bar. It's called Go Macro Bar. They're made in my home Richland County in Viola. They're fantastic. So I was having a pro macro bar and I had a little burp. Anyway, go ahead.
All right. Yeah, I disagree with Carville. But I think I like your idea better. Your interpretation of what he's saying is better than what he said, I think. Carville always likes one big idea, it's the economy stupid, right? So now he's saying, just it'll all fall apart. And I think he's right. I think we're seeing it fall apart. However, Trump still maintains the levers of power. He's appointed people to positions of power. Kash Patel now apparently has this Dan Bongino.
Bongino, yep. Bongino, yep. We haven't even talked about that yet, but Bongino is an extremist, had a show on a podcast, and now he's going to be the deputy FBI director.
Yeah, so all that is bad. In the meantime, the things he's destroying, U.S. aid, getting ready to go after Medicaid, the national parks. They're not. You don't just build those back up easily, because it takes a majority vote of both houses of Congress to return to those things. Right. Of course, that all depends on what the courts does, and the tarantulas that the guest talked about. Who can count on them? But the other thing that really bothers me, I'm remembering back to when the protesters were in Washington, and Trump wanted his generals to get the regular troops out on the streets of the city of Washington, probably all over the country, and they said, "Well, can't you just shoot them in the legs or something?"
Yeah.
Well, he's gotten rid of the real generals. He's put his own generals in there, like all these other places, stooges.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't have any confidence they're going to stand up for them. They just might shoot them in the legs, meaning people are protesting. And the one last thing is, if you study the people like Tim Snyder who know what happens in totalitarianism, the only places that stop the rolling totalitarian coup like this with an oligarch like Musk, that happened in Russia and happened in South America, is when the people stood up with mass demonstrations. So I really think Carville's wrong. Sanguine about things. People need to be out protesting and doing whatever they can to stop this now, not sit back and wait.
Appreciate the call, Jack. I basically agree with you. And again, I don't want to read too much into it, but I think what Carville his comments were directed to the leadership in Washington, not so much the grassroots people on the ground. 855-752-4842. Let's go to Whistler in Richland Center, listening on WRCE. Whistler, I don't want to go into too much detail, but I saw Mom over the weekend, and she said that she got to meet Mrs. Whistler over the weekend, and was an absolutely delightful person.
Well, I would certainly hope so.
You're married to her, so yeah.
At Park Street. But anyway, I wanted to get to the part about the Department of Agriculture. All right. One of the things that some people might be missing is the Department of Agriculture, within it has the Farmers Home Administration,
Yep.
which provides housing loans to low-income people. That's going to be affected.
Yeah. That's a great point, Whistler.
That's going to be affected.
Yeah, it's you're right.
You know,
It's
I was in the military back in the
Go ahead.
70s, like I told you, during Vietnam. But, you know, I'm glad that Mrs. Whistler got to meet your mom.
Yeah,
I mean, I've been here for 30 years or more. You know, but I'm glad you finally changed in 2011 and got your head on straight.
As a former
I
Republican,
told you that
yeah.
down at the park with Dale. I told you that down at the park with Dale.
Yeah, yeah.
So, hey,
I appreciate you.
I love your show, Todd, and
Well, we appreciate
have a good one.
thank you. Appreciate your support, Whistler, and everybody else. 855-752-4842. Let's go quickly to Dick in Madison and WMDX. Dick, thanks for calling. Let's see.
Yeah, I think he is onto something, but at the grassroots level, I agree totally with you. Did you hear any of those excerpts from the town halls around the country, and the ones particularly in Wisconsin?
Yep.
People were in their mug, and that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And the other reason I bring this up is I remember reading something right after he took office the first week. This is all fine and good, all this stuff he's trying to push to some degree, except that these people got to go face the constituents in 2 years. And in some of these red areas of the country, some of the Biden-Harris stuff is extremely popular that created jobs. And if you think for a second, you know, that people, you know, things being built and things getting done again, infrastructure that he talked about endlessly in his first term and never did a damn thing. Nothing.
Yep. Appreciate the call. Thank you so much, Dick. Great calls, everybody. It's quarter till the hour of 2 o'clock. Need to move on here. I want to do a quick version of this. Mr. Zommers, here we go. Time for What's Worse once again. Let's go.
This or that, this or that. Then, of course, the choice is yours. You can get with this or you can get with that.
Time once again for a speed round version of What's Worse. No prize money to give away. No money, no prizes, but you're a chance to be heard on statewide radio. What's better than that? All 11 stations in Civic Media's big statewide. This is the largest radio network privately owned in the state of Wisconsin. No better way to get your word out than on the Civic Media Radio Network. All right, Zommers, it is the cold and flu season. Going to get right to it. What's worse, a cold or the flu? What's worse, a cold or the flu? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. You can also text us on the Civic Media app. And I think people, at first you think, well, neither one is great, but then you think about it, there are certain things that may be worse than the other one. What's worse, the cold, a cold, or the flu? 855-752-4842. L.A. Tom calling in from Los Angeles. L.A., what's worse, a cold or the flu?
Well, colds hang on longer, it seems like, and the flu seems like it's over in 24 hours. So I'm going to have to say what's worse is still probably the flu, because it's probably, you know, you got the vomiting, you got everything else going on, whereas the cold, you know, it's just annoying, basically.
I talked to a guy.
I did want to say one other.
I talked to a guy over the weekend. He had this norovirus going around, which is
That's
flu-like.
even worse, yeah.
I mean, he lost 15 pounds
Yeah,
during that.
norovirus is dangerous.
That's terrible. What do you want to say, Ellie? Quick, please.
Well, I just wanted to say that, you know, to all the people out there, you know, with every great drama that there is, there's always a Superman, there's always a Lex Luthor. And the thing is, one thing I think maybe the Democrats are doing is they're trying to not make themselves into a Lex Luthor, you know, like a Nancy Pelosi type or something like that. So, you know, I do agree with Carville that we just need to keep on making sure that we're putting out our objectives and having basically like a shadow government and telling what it is that we're for. And just let, you know, Trump crash and burn as he continues to crash, burn, and destroy the government.
Thanks. Appreciate it. Thank you so much, L.A. Tom. Let's go quickly to Jordan listening in Madison on MDX. Jordan, what's worse, a cold or the flu?
You know, as somebody that has lung problems, I'm going to say the flu because that can be deadly.
That's a great point.
A cold.
Yeah, so you're more affected if someone has a lung issue with the flu is worse for you.
Absolutely.
All right. Thank you. I appreciate it, Jordan. Thanks so much for your listenership. Come back with more of What's Worse and hear from the Milwaukee Brewers, their first game without Uke. Your phone calls as well. 855-752-4842 is the Allbaugh Show for Monday on the Civic Media Radio Network.
For Madison, real news and great conversation. 92.7 WMDX.
Between all the holiday parties,
weekend tailgates,
and family get-togethers,
we've been overindulging a little more than usual over the holidays. But now, we are starting the new year off on a healthier note by taking Active Liver supplements from New Nordic every day.
Active Liver contains a powerful blend of turmeric, milk thistle, and globe artichoke extract. All natural ingredients that help protect the liver so that it can protect you from toxins. It's like giving my body a daily detox. I've never felt better and my energy is through the roof.
And my doctor is already impressed with how much better my numbers are looking. So if better health, more energy, and detoxing your body are some of your priorities this year, get Active Liver today and start the year off knowing you're giving your liver some well-deserved relief.
Active Liver is available in both tablets and as a delicious gummy. You can find Active Liver in stores at your local CVS or online at Amazon or newnordicusa.com.
Attention. If you suffer from consistent pain in your joints caused by arthritis, overuse, or injury, you may be a candidate for a revolutionary therapy that could revitalize damaged tissue. This approach can provide long-lasting relief from pain in your knees, shoulders, hips, and other joints with no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime. To find out if you're a viable candidate, you may request a free consultation from QC Kinetics by calling 608-384-0897. Instead of masking the symptoms, it goes to the root of the problem to resolve it at its source. Already used by thousands of satisfied patients nationwide, this joint pain therapy is available right now to the public, but only for qualified candidates. Again, to find out if you're a viable candidate for this therapy, you may request a free consultation by calling QC Kinetics at 608
Welcome back to the Todd Allbaugh Show on the Civic Media Radio Network. It is 9 before the hour of 2 o'clock. At the top of the hour, ABC or CBS News, depending upon which of our great stations you're listening to across the Civic Media Radio Network. And then Maggie Dawn comes in with the Maggie Dawn Show every afternoon from 2 until 4. Dominic Selvia, 4 to 6. Pete Schwaba in Nightlight from 6 until 8. Always a good time had by all. Maggie Dawn coming on right after us. Right now, talking about the what's worse of the day. The question to you, what's worse, a cold or the flu? 855-752-4842, 855-752-4842. Sherry, listening in Horicon. Sherry, what's worse, a cold or the flu?
Oh my God, Todd! I just got over that stupid flu. I ended up weighing 89 pounds.
Oh my gosh!
I lost 10 pounds.
Oh my! You didn't have any to lose.
I could not even drink a third of a cup of water without throwing it up for 3 days.
Oh my word!
Terrible. 103.5 fever. Oh my God. Definitely the flu is worse than a cold.
Well, I am so happy you're on the mend. I'm glad you're on the mend. We're thinking of you, Sherry. Thanks for listening to us, and you hang in there, okay? You take care of yourself.
Yeah, that's why I didn't respond last week, because I was just too sick to even say a word.
Oh, well, I'm so sorry.
But I was listening.
Well, thank you. I appreciate that, and you take care of yourself now, all right? All right. Thanks, Sherry. Appreciate it.
I love you guys.
Well, we love you too. You take care now. Thank you. Now as you said earlier, Zombers, you worked in pharmacies for a while. This stuff is nothing to fool around with, and people do die from this and get very, very ill.
That's why for me, the flu is the clear worse option because you can die from it. Norovirus is even worse because you get it coming out of both ends.
But that's no fun at all.
It's just so easy to get dehydrated.
Yeah. I think probably in general, the flu is worse for me too, although because of my ear issues, a long cold is not fun for me either. Really quick here. Patrick in Wisconsin Rapids, listening on the great station WFHR, says, which one is it? Starve a cold, feed a flu, or starve the flu, feed a cold? The starving one is worse. He doesn't want to starve. All right, very good. I think it's starve the what is it? I can't remember.
I do not know.
Greg listening in Genesee Depot says the flu is worse. Also, Brian in Milwaukee says what's worse, the flu. Yes, symptoms are similar, but dealing with a fever and chills are horrible. Tom in Jackson on AOK. Let's see here. That reset. Yes, easy. The flu. It can kill you. The flu is worse there. All right. Thanks, everybody, for playing. I will say that overall, the flu is probably worse as well. Want to go. Bob Uecker, of course, passing away here last month. And it's a lot different this year for Brewers baseball. We here at Civic Media are proud once again to be Brewers affiliates all across the state of Wisconsin. This is Jeff Levering opening up the Brewers season in Arizona over the weekend.
Under a blanket of sunshine in Phoenix, Arizona, Cactus League Baseball and the Milwaukee Brewers 2025 season begins. Hi, everybody. I'm Jeff Levering. To my left, celebrating his 40th season producing Brewers baseball, is Kent Sommerfeld. To my right, entering his 10th year on the Brewers broadcast team, is Lane Grindle. And just to the right of Lane, a bouquet of flowers and a chair with Bob Uecker's name on the back. For the first time since the inaugural season in 1970, there will be a season without hearing Ueck's voice. The chair, just a symbol, but the weight of his loss is felt by everybody, not just in this booth or in the organization, but around the world. He was our mentor, but more importantly, he was our friend, and we miss him dearly. But he's always with each and every one of us in our hearts every single day. But we'll do what Ueck would want us to do, and that's talk Brewers baseball. We'll certainly laugh, we may cry, but we'll always remember our friend Bob Uecker, because he'll always be with us. So with that, we begin the 2025 championship season in Milwaukee Brewers baseball.
Jeff Levering, now the voice of the Milwaukee Brewers, opening up the season for the first time since 1971 without Bob Uecker. Can't imagine what that was like for him. Of course, Levering, along with Lane Grindle, has been taking over more and more of the play-by-play duties on the Brewers radio network that go back and forth between the TV side and the radio side. But they always knew, right down to that last game of elimination in the postseason last year, they always knew that if Ueck could be there, he would be. And we found out after his passing that Bob Uecker had been battling lung cancer for over a year, and it was extraordinarily difficult for him, for Uecker, to get there for that last game, but he was not going to be denied and sat in that chair to the right of Lane Grindle to call his last game, in which we played the cup for you before. After it, Bob Uecker said that one had some sting to it, and probably knowing that would be his last game ever. It's going to be different, Zommers, but we're fortunate to have a guy like Lane Grindle to literally and figuratively pick up the microphone. But I can't imagine how difficult that was for him to open the season this year.
Absolutely. And it's still wild to me that Bob Uecker called 3.5% of all radio broadcast MLB games.
Yeah.
And so even if you're not from Milwaukee, his legacy will not soon be forgotten.
No, it won't. And a reminder, we're going to have the guys back on the show, Kelly Call and Sean Hannah-Shun. The great movie, Just a Bit Outside, the story of the 1982 Milwaukee Brewers run, is now on DVD. Yes, you can buy it and watch it at home, for sale at Amazon. So check out that great movie, just a bit outside. Many thanks to Matt Flynn for being on the show today. Aaron Zomer, always great to have him behind the board. And for all of you for listening, Todd Allbaugh saying, whatever you believe in, whatever you're fighting for, do not give up. Keep banging your drum. We'll see you tomorrow. Maggie Dawn is next. All right, everybody. We appreciate you. Have a great week.
Well, yeah, but
it's Monday, so yeah. Have a great evening. We'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.
Adios.